How are you doing this afternoon?
Do you care?
Actually, I do. I listen a lot, and I care.
I listen to you every day, and you make me laugh.
Good.
So I have a funny story to tell you.
That was hilarious. Jeff, you make my afternoons, man. You really do.
Jeff is brought to you by Invisible Fence, the humane way to contain your pet. 474-PETS.
Not many people may have known the name of Michael Bloomberg 48 hours ago, but some of you will get really mad, although he's probably spot on. Michael Bloomberg is an interesting cat. He is the mayor of New York. He's been the mayor of New York for some time. He's a multi-billionaire. He made his money in the financial news business. And he does a daily radio show, which in most places would be terrible. Just imagine if I tried to have the Lee Leffingwell show. That would work well. Not only do you not know who it is, most of you, even if you did, you'd find him incredibly boring. But Michael Bloomberg is not that boring. Now, you can afford to be not boring when you're older and you're a billionaire. You get an edge to you. That's why it's kind of fun to hear people like Michael Bloomberg talk, offer their opinions. Rupert Murdoch and Michael Bloomberg appeared yesterday in front of your national political heroes to talk about immigration. And these guys make a bunch of money, and they really don't give a flip what you think. Nor do they give a flip what politicians think. Now, so Michael Bloomberg, he tried to do what I did a few weeks ago. And I don't want it taking over the show because there are carnies to talk about. There are the sights and sounds of I-35 to talk about and movies to talk about. But he tried. And I think Michael Bloomberg in some ways may have come away with some of the same things about the Tea Party that I have. So he goes on his radio show that he does. I guess he does it every day. That might be a little much. And he says to the host or co-host or whoever the guy is sitting with him on WORAM, he says the wake-up call, John, that's the co-host, is called the Tea Party. That's what the Tea Party is. It's funny. It's not a political movement. They're a group of people, and you see this every 8 to 10 years. There was the Perot boomlet. He's right. By the way, I think that's really healthy. He said there was the Perot boomlet, if you remember. Then there was a McCain boomlet 8 to 10 years ago. I don't know about that, Mike. And he says, and it's the I'm sick of it party. That's what people are saying. I don't know what the answer is. Your job is to figure it out, Mr. Congressman, Mr. Senate, Mr. President, whatever it is. But I'm just telling you, quote, I'm annoyed. So I said, wow, I think it's the none of the above. He says it's the I'm just mad. It's probably about right. Because this idea that you're libertarian apparently is not true. Not true at all. But there is one consistent theme. It's the I'm just mad. It's really mad. Not sure exactly about what, but just mad. At least Bloomberg acknowledged it. In fact, he almost seems to think it's funny. Again, when you're 72 and you're a multi-billionaire, you can act that way. Now, not to be outdone, the science of media has come up with something pretty interesting. And there's a group, as we get closer and closer to elections, obviously how you target people, because that's all this is. I hate to break it to you. It's just target marketing. That's all. I could give you a textbook and you could read all about it. You'd find, wow, that's all this stuff is about. You bet. And this was done by a group called Resonate Networks. And so what they've done, and these are pretty sharp people. They don't miss much. They attempted to find out where each political side and their supporters were online, where you would go online. And they broke it down by liberals and conservatives, and they were able to break out the top sites for each group based on a concentration of supporters. And I think you might be amazed at some of the common themes. I would rather gouge my eyes out than read some of these things, but a lot of you have them in common. Apparently most of you share some of these sites. And I was proud to see that The Economist even made it. Unfortunately, Republicans won't read The Economist. I don't get that. That's sad. That's depressing. It's what everybody should read. But you didn't do it. But we do know this. Whatever your political stripe, you like Martha Stewart. And this hurts. All of you like Rachel Ray. I can't get you to read anything about economics, but God knows whatever it is you believe in politically, you all seem to agree Martha Stewart and Rachel Ray are the places to go.
That's gay.
I'm disappointed, but maybe we should put more links on our website. I can't fight it. All right, the phone numbers, you'll need them. 836-0590. That's 836-0590. Toll free 877-590 KLBJ. Can you listen online? More than likely, yes. Go to 590klbj.com. Click on that icon and put your head down. You can do that chat box thing as well. Go to 590klbj.com. Click on the OLS chat box, whatever that is. You will see some preppy pictures, and you are in. If you would like to download the show, that's possible. Go to 590klbj.com. There was a podcast there, and more than likely it is free. You can also download the show via iTunes, and I'm told on your iPhone as well. So I do it every year, and I offer a tip for people traveling to Dallas for the game. And one of the consistent tips that I've made through the years, I grew up going to the Texas-Oklahoma game. My father refereed the game, so from the time I was 9 years old, I was on the field. I can't say that I've been on the field more than anyone, but it's been a bunch. And through the years, just forget about the game and the environment for a second. The same dudes are running the rides, and they've been there a long time, including my favorite guy. And when you go ask for Gibby. I tell people every year, if you want to have a wild ride on the Tilt-A-Whirl, watch Gibby and take a look at his track marks. Phone number is 836-0590. That's 836-0590. Toll free 877-590-KLBJ. Hey, Jeff, forget about the Dr. Pepper Museum, the beef jerky, the Tilt-A-Whirl with Gibby and his track marks. Look, Gibby is proof that you can be on heroin for 20-something years and not only stay alive, but stay employed. He's done it. I mean, every time I'm not going to go to Dallas tomorrow, no thanks. But I said, stop by. Gibby. Hey, Jeff, after all these years, hey, man. Good seeing you again, Gibby. Hang in there. You know it, man. You want to ride? No thanks, Gibby. I'm good today. So, Jeff, what's the prediction? Is Texas in bad shape? No, because both teams are a lot alike. Remember, if you want to talk about the science of football is all about matchups. And believe it or not, coming off of a butt kicking at home against UCLA, Texas and Oklahoma matchup, they're a lot alike. Note how I'm not saying they're really good. I'm just saying they're a lot alike. In fact, they're almost exactly alike. That's good news for watching, right? Makes it fun to watch. You'll see the ball thrown about 85 times. All right, so this red state, blue state websites or web traffic. Now, I didn't come up with this. This is Resonate Networks. This is from Advertising Age. So they're doing the media and the web traffic and the site traffic for those who identify themselves as liberal or conservative. Okay? And there's a very pleasant surprise to me. Now, I'm different than all of you. To me, it's just about economics. But there is a very pleasant surprise. Here you go. This is the liberal audience. Selected sites in ranking order. And note how there is a common theme among both, and that's disturbing. Dailycost.com. That's KOS. New York Magazine. That's not necessarily the New York Times. Okay, number 3. Now, I can bore you talking about this magazine because I wish I could make people read it, but you won't because it has no emotion. Number 3 for the liberal audience, The Economist. That's hilarious. I wish I could talk Republicans into reading this. I really wish it, because it is just about economics. It's well thought out, in my opinion. It's an interesting read. It's not full of fluff. It's not soft. It's not butt-kissing. Yes, admittedly, it has a very libertarian bent, as most people who believe in fundamental economics probably have. But I think the last place you'd find The Economist, and this is pretty disappointing for so-called conservatives, is number 3 on the list for someone who labels themselves a liberal. You may read it, but apparently you don't believe in anything in it. I just wish the other side would read it. Number 4 is RollingStone.com. And then RachelRay.com. MarthaStewart.com. Okay, then the conservative audience. RushLimbaugh.com. Breitbart.com. FinancialTimes.com. That's not bad. It's the pink newspaper. Good for you. GlennBeck.com. CBSSports.com. Interesting. It's got to be fantasy football. It's got to be. Then FoxNews.com. Then RachelRay.com. MarthaStewart.com. They don't count porn. See, apparently in web research, I read a really good book about web research recently, but forget that. In web research, what you do is porn is all by itself. So like you just know that most guys are just watching porn a lot of the time. So it's a foregone conclusion. So it's not even worth researching. I mean, you just don't even spend the time on it. So you just sort of remove it as a category altogether because it's like breathing to most men. And so once you take porn out of there, we end up with the common thread of RachelRay.com and MarthaStewart.com. What in the world would someone have? I proudly don't cook. I don't fix things, nor would I ever want to knit anything or whatever it is you do at Martha Stewart. Placemats or something. But what the heck? What? What are you doing? I don't know what's worse, Martha Stewart or Rachel Ray. Is that just old ladies? Old ladies on both sides? That hurts. That really hurts. Thomas, put a link to those sites on our website. Mark, you're on KLBJ. Hello, Mark.
Jeff, you just ripped the argument. You just ripped my argument out from underneath it. I was going to say the only way that you could, where porn and fantasy football do not top the list, is if they're not mentioned there. And really, all you're getting now is what women look at on the net. That's what all those lists are: liberal women and conservative women. That's all it is. Because let's come on. Although you're Thomas, I'm sorry, I will not call him just a call screener anymore. He's Thomas, the Uber producer.
Yeah.
He mentioned to me that Rachel Ray is almost like porn, so I may have to add that to my favorites.
Wait a second. In what way?
I have I've never looked at it in my life.
Rachel Ray, does she pose on their side? I thought she was chubby.
That's what I thought too, but maybe if you really like food, is there something into it like that or something? Anyway, love your show, Jeff.
Yeah, you may be on to something here. Except, there's two things that don't add up. That women, and believe me, having hosted a talk show and received numerous complaints in email, please don't get into that economic stuff. Please. I'm blown away. I'm excited that The Economist is even on anybody's list. I wish you could grab people by the hair and make them read it. Don't do anything else until you read this. Please learn to appreciate fundamental economics and no emotion. So the fact that it made it at all that's nice. But I think it might be ruined by this Rachel Ray thing. I don't even want to ask what it is you do and what you're looking for. Maybe there is some kind of fetish thing. Maybe guys like that. Maybe guys think it's another form of porn. I thought they had TV shows, so I don't know why women would be going there. Maybe extra recipes or potpourri or candles or something. Wow. We can tell everyone's gearing up for the political season. You're reading about napkins. The Austin cops, you've probably heard this. I don't know if this gets controversial. I don't know how that it can. But I don't know what the heck this guy was looking for. It ends in a bad way. If you have not heard, in South Austin this morning at about 6 o'clock, this is at I-35 in William Cannon, the Big Lots store. You're robbing a Big Lots store? What are you getting, 1,000 pens for 70 cents each? A 16-year-old was shot by police, shot and killed, died at the scene, coming out of the Big Lots store at 6 a.m., trying to leave through the back. Police Chief Art Acevedo said that he fired shots. Uh-oh. Now we have an update. Let me correct everything I just said. I said it may not be controversial. Well, it might now. Okay, now police are saying, this just came down in the last few minutes. Now police are saying the teenager did not fire a gun. 2 burglary suspects are in custody. One is 19 and one is 15. This is all, I assume, coming out or around the Big Lots store in South Austin. The 16-year-old was shot and killed coming out of the back. Art Acevedo said that he has reviewed video of the shooting. It does not appear the suspect had an opportunity to fire any shots. He said the suspect kicked open a back door to the store. And Art Acevedo, the chief of police, says pointed his weapon at officers, did not fire, but was shot and died at the scene. So, coming out of the Big Lots, 3 of them, apparently trying to rob the place. He was apparently pulled, the 16-year-old, the cops pulled him to the side to try to get him some help, and he died at the scene. All right, phone number is 836-0590. That's 836-0590. Toll free is 877-590-KLBJ.
Hi, I'm a big fan of yours. I'm from New Jersey, actually. You're one of my links to Austin, so thank you for that.
You're listening to Jeff Ward on News Radio 590 KLBJ.
Bloomberg, who's the mayor of New York.
5 rounds of ammunition. We believe it's 38 special ammunition. The officer, upon the suspect raising his firearm in a threatening and menacing manner, pointing it directly at the officer, discharged his service pistol, striking the suspect several times.
Let's start out Acevedo talking about a 16-year-old coming out of the back door of a Big Lots in South Austin, shot and killed. That's that. 2 other suspects, I assume they're burglary suspects, 15 and 19 are in custody. The 16-year-old died at the scene. So, there you go. Michael Bloomberg, who is a billionaire mayor of New York, does a radio show every day, and he was asked about the Tea Party thing. He didn't seem to have a problem with it. They said it happens periodically. It's the I'm mad party. Yeah, it's about right. It's really not about economics. That's not so unhealthy. He did compare it to the whole Perot thing, and I'm too young to remember how much momentum the Perot thing had, although I remember watching, and I remember looking at the diagrams, and I remember hearing, maybe you ought to listen to this guy, but you don't have a chance when you look goofy and you talk about economics. You have no chance. You will not elect a goofy-looking person. I don't care if he is a billionaire. All right, 836-0590, toll-free 877-590-KLBJ. Dennis, you're on KLBJ.
Hey, man, did I hear you say that this shooting was controversial because...
No, you heard me say, what you heard me say is it likely will be.
Because the person that was shot did not fire first?
because it's a 16-year-old and he did not fire first.
Well,
Name for me.
I suppose police officers should be asking for ID and checking an age before they discharge a firearm.
You didn't.
Anytime you come out of a building with a gun and it's dark outside,
Okay.
and you don't drop the weapon, especially if you pick it up and point it at the police officer, he's not going to wait for a muzzle blast to fire his weapon. He's going to shoot repeatedly.
Nobody said he wouldn't.
And that's not controversial. That's life.
How many times is a police shooting not controversial?
In Austin,
Yeah.
It's always controversial.
Okay, that's why I said it. So that's why I said it.
The largest investigative department inside Austin PD is the internal affairs people.
Right.
That's not true in any other police department in the country. Austin has a problem with shootings, and what they should be doing is educating their young people to not be carrying guns, coming out of burglaries, and doing what the nice policeman tells them to do.
How would they? Who is they that does that?
Parents.
Oh, how does the
Parents need to tell their kids, if you're going to rob a store, if you're going to burglarize someplace, and the nice policeman tells you to put the gun down, you need to do that and do exactly as he says.
So you
or else
think
you'll get shot.
a parent has the conversation that says, now, if you rob the Big Lots this weekend, whatever you do, don't point the gun at anyone?
Absolutely. Tell them don't even carry a gun because you're likely to get shot.
Do you have kids?
I have 3.
Do you have the when you rob a store, don't point a gun at someone conversation?
That's a good conversation to have with a kid that's likely to do that sort of thing. But
have you had that conversation with your kids?
My kids aren't that bad. No, I've never had to.
Okay, well, the cop may very well be in the right. I'm pretty certain when a 16-year-old is shot, it's going to be a big deal. Doesn't mean the cops are wrong. It's going to be a big deal. At first, somebody said a shot was fired. Then the report later was no shots were fired. That's going to make it an even bigger deal. I'm not sure that's such a bad thing. It may be very cut and dried. It rarely is. In fact, most of us know whenever there's a police shooting, you have multiple layers of investigations, and in the end, you have outside firms being hired to investigate some more. So based on history, I feel pretty comfortable saying, in the end, it will be controversial. Maybe we should just say, in the end, it will be expensive. They're robbing a big lot store. Are they stealing cash? Were they trying to steal cash? I mean, here you're 16 and on foot. How much? I mean, can you get away with enough stuff to justify? I mean, you just got the death penalty. You got the death penalty for robbing a Big Lots. I mean, if you're inclined to be a criminal, what are you going to come away with from Big Lots? Bob, you're on KLBJ.
Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Bob.
I'm not going to ask you how you are because I already know. But I have to. I want to say in regards to the shooting, if in fact the 16-year-old was pointing a gun at a police officer, then that I can see that the shooting was justified. But you're right, we're going to spend a fortune on this. In terms of internal dollars at the police department, with an internal affairs, and then the outside companies that come in to investigate this. I mean, yeah, you're right. This is a 16-year-old. This is a kid that was shot. It's just sad.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
It is horrible.
It is. It's awful. And I'm not at all even implying the cop did the wrong thing here. But we know within 2 hours, the story has changed slightly, which is going to make it even more controversial. At first, it was reported he fired shots. Now it's reported he didn't. Art Acevedo said he pointed a gun, but it's a 16-year-old kid that got the death penalty for robbing a Big Lots. What the hell? What's he doing? What's he doing? What's he going to get away with?
Maybe he wanted last year's Ralph Lauren sheets or something.
I know. I mean, come on. It's just,
Jeff, I have to tell you something. I have one other thing that I have to tell you.
Sure.
I'm a big fan. I love to listen to you. I listen to you every day on my way home from work. But there are times when I turn on the radio, and it's during one of your pauses that I get a little frightened. If for some reason you're not on, something's wrong with the station. It's just. But then I've been listening long enough for a few years that Jeff likes to take a pause every once in a while before he responds to something.
Yeah, Is that a bad thing?
No, it scares me when I turn it on because I'll turn the radio on and I'll turn on 99.7 and I'll turn the volume up and it'll be like, oh crap, it's silence, and then all of a sudden it's real loud and there's Jeff talking about whatever it is, the topic of the day. But
it's it's hard. I'm sure that happens. It's hard for me to recognize that. I have no good explanation. I'm not even sure I need to offer one, except I tell you what's funny. It could be my other life creeping in because, frankly, I hardly talk at all.
Well,
people who know me go, "Are you kidding me? That's what you do?" So I don't know. Maybe it's that. Maybe I digress into normal Jeff, but I don't know. I can't. I'm not sure I can do anything about it, but I've heard that before.
Jeff, I absolutely love the show, and I asked Thomas when I called in if he'd been fired, and he said he hadn't been fired yet. Can we fire him?
Not yet, but I tell you what I am getting tired of is the love that he's getting. What is the last 48 hours of love for Thomas? It's just been a tidal wave of love. I haven't heard anybody call and say that guy anymore. It's all, you're on first name basis with everyone. What are you guys tweeting back and forth? What's going on over there? What's happening in that other room? Maybe I should come out of the darkness. There is a correlation between elections and porn viewing. Wow. I've told you before that it's tough. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. When you're tenured, you have to produce a certain amount of research a year and periodicals and things like that, so you can see where the well might get a little dry. So now we introduce Patrick and Charlotte Markey, a husband and wife team of researchers at Rutgers University and Villanova University. Pat and Charlotte working together on this one. And they decided to test how elections and porn viewing interact. And they have some findings, of course. They have some findings. It is David. You're on KLBJ.
Hey, Jeff, you have a great show, and I cannot stand that guy that answers the telephones back there.
Thank you. I needed that.
Hey, about the controversy. You're a great cynic, and I love talking to and listening to cynics, but I understand you're trying to get some folks motivated to talk about that shooting being controversial, and I understand you're a little bit distressed by it, but you've got to bear in mind, and the gentleman that said this earlier, an officer is not going to be in a position, I'm saying this as an officer, in a position to make a judgment call that time of morning, regardless of whether they're robbing Neiman Marcus,
right,
Wells Fargo, or Big Lots. They have their life at risk, and they have to make instantaneous decisions that you and I cannot make here and don't have to be in a position to make while we're talking on the telephone. And one more thing I'd like to add, Jeff, is this is a town that likes to stir up controversy, especially with shootings, and this one's ripe for controversy. I will mark my words on this. This will not be controversial and will not be talked about a week from now if it turns out that kid's Caucasian. I haven't heard anything in the news, but if the kid's Caucasian, it won't be controversial. If the kid is anything other than Anglo, there will be some controversy surrounding it. And that's what I wanted to say, and I promise you that will be the case.
Well, first thing, I really don't want to talk about this thing. I don't, because all we're going to end up doing is offering opinions about what we don't know. We're going to talk in circles. So I disagree with you that I'm, quote, trying to stir something up. This is stirring something up that has no real argument. We don't know anything yet. But I feel pretty comfortable saying that when a 16-year-old is shot robbing a store, it's going to be a big deal. That doesn't mean the cop is wrong. In fact, the way it's presented from Art Acevedo, it makes perfect sense how the cop reacted the way he did, because Art Acevedo was saying the 16-year-old or the person came out of the back of the store with I think he said a red hoodie on at 6 a.m. So it's dark. They see a gun. The way it's presented now, it does make sense. Phone number is 836-0590, toll free 877-590-KLBJ. Remember the reporter of, is it Azteca Television? Inez Sainz, S-A-I-N-Z. She at first complained about some of the things said about her in the New York Jets locker room. It led to an NFL investigation, led to a women's media group hosting a seminar for the New York Jets on how to treat female reporters. And by the way, she's smoking hot and not afraid to show it. You never would have guessed where her next job offer came from. Well, I say you do it, Inez. Here you go. She has received a formal offer to pose naked in Playboy. Yeah. By the way, she's the self-proclaimed hottest sports reporter. Yes. Now, the offer is that she would be required to be completely naked because when she works, she's very close to being completely naked. So I'm sure Playboy had to come to her agent and say, listen, nice job. She's hot. We understand that every day you go to work and you're almost naked, but we don't need you just like you look at work. We need the real thing. Do it. Absolutely. I mean, what else is she angling for? What is Inez looking for? She said at first that she felt like, I know that she said that she was harassed, and she came back and said, well, maybe not. I mean, they were yelling stuff like you're hot. And I mean, look, they're a bunch of meatheads. All right, the research of the day, it says, in the aftermath of the 2004-2008 presidential elections, residents of states that broke for the winning candidate. In other words, well, you can figure out the states. Okay, residents of states that went for the winning candidate were more likely to download porn. There. Feel better? Huh. So I guess it would have been in the 2008 election. It goes to Obama. So those states would have. What was the big swing state there that went Obama's way? What was that? Did Ohio go Obama's way? Okay, so if Ohio did in fact go Obama's way, that state would have had more people downloading porn. The states that go for the winner end up downloading more porn. That's according to the husband and wife research team from Rutgers of Patrick and Charlotte Markey. And with this information, what will Patrick and Charlotte do? Tom, you're on KLBJ.
Yeah, the last time they had a police shooting, they had a little malfunction with their cameras, and so it left a lot of controversy. This time they reported that they had 2 units out back, so they should have double cameras.
Yep.
What about, I know that building has got security cameras on it. That intersection does.
Yeah, but I don't know if you would, other than the police car cams, I mean, will the Big Lots building have a camera in the back?
A lot of them, if they're in a high-crime area, they will.
Okay.
But they had the way that they originally said it was, 1 police officer up front, 2 out back, so the chief
Chief has been very clear, and he did it on this show one day and said, absolutely, the camera should be turned on. You're right.
And they got that clarified. I've been listening to the program off and on all day, and I haven't heard anyone bring up that angle. I haven't heard anyone, the chief or anybody else, question whether, hey, let's see the video footage, at least up to the point when everything breaks loose.
Well, he says, now I don't know what footage he's referring to, but he said himself late this afternoon when it was first reported that the guy had fired some shots. He said that he had reviewed footage. Now, where that footage came from, I don't know that that's been clarified. But if to your point, as he said, and this has been mentioned, and the taxpayers have been hit up for cameras, if the cars are there, the cameras better be on.
Yeah, and it sounds like that, he would be, the way that he came off of the Nathaniel Sanders case and he dropped the hammer about the cameras, he basically took the responsibility upon himself. So, if worse comes to worse, there's another camera malfunction, they can't blame it on the officer. It's going to be on him then.
Yep.
The original reports were that it was a young Hispanic male. The other caller who didn't know, he hadn't heard it, they had reported the young man, and they gave out his name and his race. So I don't remember what it is. But
I don't know about his name. Has his name been released yet?
One of the news reports, I can't remember if it was
I don't know about, he's 16, the guy that died, so that I know of, his name has not been released.
They released somebody's name earlier in the day, and I can't remember.
There's a 19-year-old, and I'm willing to bet that's who. There was a 19-year-old that was arrested, along with a 15-year-old. The 16-year-old coming out the back, the police chief says pointed a gun, is the one who was shot and killed.
Yeah.
All right. To your point about the cameras, you bet. You bet. I mean, he's been pretty clear about that. Better have been turned on. He made it very clear. It's an absolute. When he's talking about footage that he has reviewed, I'm not sure what footage it was. But that's how he came back and said that he was able to clarify that though there were no shots fired by the kid coming out the back. And to be fair, they didn't know. We guess. It's dark. It's just robbing of Big Lots. Man. Mike, you're on KLBJ.
Jeff, I hope you're feeling well. I wish you a good weekend. I hear all these people bantering back all these theories about what's going on, and if parents would teach their kids not to shoot at cops, this wouldn't have happened, or this would happen less. How about injecting a little common sense into this equation today? How about if parents taught their kids not to rob stores and burglarize things? They would maybe grow to have a ripe old age.
On your way to Dallas, make sure you see the Dr. Pepper Museum.
Well, that's a new perspective.
We read in the USA Today recently that Waco is in the middle of a revitalization program where the goal is to have, I remember, 50,000 people living in, you ready for this? Downtown Waco. I guess, I don't know which way you're supposed to look as you head that way. I don't know if downtown Waco is to your right or left. I don't know if downtown Waco is supposed to be in between these 600 fast food restaurants. But you better enjoy your trip through Waco now, because apparently in the near future it's going to be a completely different place. Make sure when you get to the fairgrounds, not only just park whenever and wherever you see the first guy that says park here, just pull over and toss him the keys. Don't worry. And at the Tilt-A-Whirl, I've known him for, close to 20 years, maybe longer. Gibby's a heroin addict. And if you tell him to go faster, he will do it. But he is living proof that you too can be a heroin addict and survive. And, based on Gibby's lifestyle, prosper. By the way, in terms of the game, it should be close because both teams are a lot alike. In fact, they're kind of a mirror image of one another. They really are just alike. It's Big 12 football on display. Teams passing the ball 70, 80 times. Not playing very good defense, not running the ball at all. And I think it makes for a pretty good game. In terms of being competitive, the dumb team loses. That's the way it works. A lot of you believe in this concept of, get fired up, get worked up. No, don't do that. That emotion produces stupidity. Stupid people blow the games. Stupid people catch punts on their two. That'll be the loser. It's a game that I'm not sure somebody wins. It's a game that somebody actually loses. All right, phone numbers. You'll need them. 836-0590. That's 836-0590. Toll free 877-590-KLBJ. Can you listen online? More than likely, yes. Go to 590klbj.com. Click on that icon and put your head down. You can do that chat box thing as well. Go to 590klbj.com. Click on the OLS chat box, whatever that is. You will see some preppy pictures, and you are in. If you'd like to download the show, that's possible. Go to 590klbj.com. There is a podcast there, and more than likely it is free. You can also download the show via iTunes, and I'm told on your iPhone as well. And who knows, somewhere, somehow, there could be a phone app out there. Later on, film critic Gary Cogill will be on the show. Talk about it's not Facebook the movie. We got to stop saying that. Social Network. I read the book, The Accidental Billionaires. It's sexed up, no doubt. I mean, it's really sexed up, but it's interesting. I don't know about the movie. I saw Wall Street the other night. I saw it at Gold Class Cinema too. Okay, that's pretty good. I mean, that's nice. You should try it. I didn't like Wall Street, the new Wall Street, the newer version. First of all, I'm surprised many of you do, because I don't think the average person has any idea what that movie's about and the finance, because it is a direct spoof. Isn't even the right word. It is almost a complete account of the financial meltdown. It is. I mean, the acting I thought was good. I mean, look at the cast. I don't know. There's something about this imagery that Oliver Stone uses when people are thinking, like little images of dollar bills and stuff. Some people really like it, and I love the first Wall Street. Not this one. All right, Roy, you're on KLBJ.
Hey, I thought we'd talk a little Longhorn football for a minute.
Let's do.
What do you think? You think they were just overconfident last week and arrogant is the way that I would put it sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, that could be a little bit of what happened. You talking about Texas? Roy, are you talking about Texas last week?
Yeah, University of Texas.
Let me tell you how I think it is. And UCLA, see, football is all about matchups. UCLA is a bad matchup for Texas. Texas, I think this isn't that far off. This is my theory about Texas. They are built for the Big 12. They're built for running around the field and chasing the ball. They're built for East-West. UCLA is not a good matchup for them. Stanford's not a good matchup for Texas. Alabama would roll Texas. Oklahoma plays just like Texas. Texas is built for that kind of game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see that to an extent. They're more finesse and
yeah, here's the way to look at it. They're an athlete on the perimeter team, not a straight ahead north-south team. Even though they said they were going to be, they're not. That's not their game. It's not the way they play. And if they play somebody that can do that, even a mediocre Pac-10 team like UCLA, it's a bad matchup for them. The way to really beat Texas is to go straight at them. But Oklahoma can't do that. It's not their game.
They don't have the physical linemen to do that either.
They don't have it either. Texas and Oklahoma, these two teams, that's why I said the dumber team loses. Because these two teams are very, very similar. They have similar styles. They have very similar personnel. Both of them have serious issues. Both of them have tried at various times to be something they're not. And I think both of them, as Mac Brown has said, we just need to get the ball in the end zone. I think both of them end up tossing it around, playing the same kind of game. So the team that does fewer stupid things, example, catching a ball on your two on a punt, the team that does fewer stupid things probably wins, because I think it's a pretty even match. In fact, I think they look just alike.
Well, I think Texas has got a better defense.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that.
How do you weigh the non-conference, or let's just say Texas opponents versus Oklahoma? Who's had the tougher road?
Well, Oklahoma has, no doubt. No doubt. Look, Oklahoma's win at home against Florida State, and I watched every snap of that game, was very impressive. They were sharp. It's the only time either one of these teams has been sharp and consistent throughout an entire game. So in that regard, you give Oklahoma some advantage because they've had the one really crisp outing. Otherwise, both of them have been inconsistent. Both of them, against mediocre at best competition, have been spotty.
Hey, Jeff. I think that you have a really realistic way of thinking about things, and that's why I love to listen to your show.
You're listening to Jeff Ward on News Radio 590 KLBJ.
Phone number is 836-0590, toll-free 877-590-KLBJ. A company called Resonate Networks is working to find out where voters go online. Obviously, sort of goes without saying, in addition to porn and fantasy football. You have to take those two categories and just assume that's where all men are and will continue to be. So remove those two because that's not really fair. So they then identified and broke groups down into liberal audiences and conservative audiences. And props to the liberals, if this is true, for reading The Economist. Everyone should. It's sad. We can't get people to read it. But beyond that, you do have something very much in common. Among the sites, RachelRay.com is shared between the two as one of the most popular sites. That makes my face hurt. And, even worse, MarthaStewart.com is shared between the two groups. Oh, boy. That's just too bad. I mean, is that old ladies? Please tell me that's old ladies. Please. Unless guys, for some reason, think Rachel Ray. I don't know. I can't figure you out. So the rest of it, stuff like RushLimbaugh.com, Breitbart.com. Then you get to Fox News, then Rachel Ray and Martha Stewart. The liberal side would be dailycost.com, New York Magazine, The Economist. Good job. RollingStone.com. Then, of course, Rachel Ray and MarthaStewart.com. Why? Now, it's not saying you're going there to be fair, it's not saying you're going there for political news. It's just the most popular sites of people who describe themselves as liberal or conservative. And they rank them. So they took, if you describe yourself as liberal or conservative, they would rank the sites that you're most often visiting. Again, take out porn and fantasy football and the other sites. That's for men. So obviously they had a decent cross-section of women here. We can only hope. All right, phone number is 836-0590, toll-free 877-590-KLBJ. I don't know how you accept my analysis of the Texas OU game. I think it's probably not far off at all. Mac Brown said he doesn't really know who his team is. Yeah? It's probably true. But I think they got a pretty good idea how they want to play, who they are, the way they play. Oklahoma's the same way. It's the Big 12. Did anybody watch that game last night? How many passes were thrown? 100? It's flag football, man. It is Luke. You're on KLBJ.
Hey, Jeff, I just wanted to let you know downtown Waco is on the left as you're driving through I-35.
Okay. That's where the skyscrapers are, huh?
It's a common misconception. Many people pass it up.
Well, Luke, enjoy it now while you can, because apparently the new urbanization is going to hit, and it's going to be a different place.
I went to school back in the day when downtown Waco was a very dangerous place, and they cleaned it up and they made it more livable. I can't imagine the 50,000 people. I mean, they may be fire codes, but I'll take a look at it when I'm up there at the game tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll check it out and see what they're doing.
Well, I tell you what, if you somebody starts selling downtown condos in Waco, you can go first.
Okay.
I'm gonna probably hold off. I'm gonna hold off that deal.
This is my old stomping grounds. By the way, if Baylor wins tomorrow and Texas loses, for a very short week, I can relish Baylor being ranked above Texas in the Big 12.
Do it, man.
Yeah.
Do it. Own it. You bet. Matt, you're on KLBJ.
Hey, Jeff. I'm a Longhorn. I root for the Horns. I'm not real big into football. You talk about, the Big 12 being an East and West type of league. Is it better to be a North and South? I mean, should Texas try to be a North and South type of team?
It's funny. No, not necessarily. I don't think so because, look, Texas has usually going to have the deeper team than most people they play. They're going to have a faster team and better athletes than most teams they play. So in the Big 12, they'll probably be able to out Big 12 the vast majority of the teams they play and win 9 or 10 games. Now, they're going to have a draw periodically in which they play a team in Alabama who's really good at this, or even a mediocre team that's a power team like UCLA, and they get themselves in trouble because it's a matchup problem. It would be like, to use basketball terminology, your team has a 6'7" guard, and they put him down low, and all we have is a 6'5", 6'4" guy.
Right.
We got a matchup problem. But more times than not, I think where Texas fans and even the coaching staff got turned around is saying they're going to be a more of a power team. And I think they did that they were talking about that for the right reasons, because I do think they're in a dangerous spot if they start pretending that Garrett Gilbert is Colt McCoy or Vince Young. You can't expose him as much as those other two guys. One, you don't have anybody else to take his place, and two, he doesn't move like they do. So I think they had good intentions in what they were saying, but as Mac Brown all but said this week, we are what we are. And so, accept it, and if you don't run up against a power team, you're fine.
Right.
If you
How do they go about changing that? I mean, is it just you need bigger guys up front?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of theories there. People talk all the time about the Texas running backs. I think that's wrong, and I think it's unfair. Phone number is 836-0590. That's 836-0590. Toll free 877-590-KLBJ. Have I successfully bored everyone with this football analysis? I thought so. It's what usually happens. It's all science, man. Minimize emotion, maximize strategy. I thought I was giving Texas fans something to be optimistic about. Last Saturday, I'm not saying you can completely dismiss it, but I wouldn't put as much stock into it as you think when you look at this game. I'm not excusing Texas from all the stupid things they did, catching punts on the 2, having 12 men on the field on a punt, returns, stuff like that, or their lack of confidence. I mean, they do that stuff again, they lose, but it's not a mismatch. They're not going to play somebody that can tell them where they're going to run the ball, and they can't stop them anyway. It's not the case now. They're going to play against a team in Oklahoma that looks just like theirs, doing the same stuff, throwing it out there, and making little guys try to make people miss. That's the game. It's the game both of them will play. I mean, if all of a sudden one of them is going to look like Alabama, just running the ball straight ahead, that'll be a shock, because neither one of them have been able to do it. And I got to believe at some point they go, you know what, we can't do that stuff. Check that. Let's do what we do well. So that's it. Does that mean Texas wins? Not necessarily. I think they got a lot better chance than a lot of you. Wouldn't surprise me at all. They just correct the stupid things, and they're good. All right, Sandra, you're on KLBJ.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey.
I'm driving home from Dallas, going back to Austin. Let you know, just as you get south of Waco, there's a black SUV that's hit the wall in the left lane going north. And so the traffic is backed up for miles.
Yeah. There you go. And there's nothing to do about it either.
No, there's people that are trying to cross the grass median and get on the frontage road, but they're not going very fast.
I was going to say, I mean, they're not going to go anywhere either, are they?
No,
Oh, boy. Should they stop in Waco at the Dr. Pepper Museum?
Yeah, no, you can't even get that far yet.
Oh, no, you're not.
Yeah, the accident is before the museum.
Well, no good advice?
No, just chill and relax and listen to your show, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's relaxing. Sandra, thank you.
You're welcome.
There it is. Traffic report. In other words, you're going to listen to the show. Was it last year the people got stuck on the train? Was that last year? And it's not funny, but you missed the first half, or thousands of you. I mean, I am advocating Capital Metro use the train to go to and from Texas games. I mean, it might be the only time anybody gets on that thing. And then last year, is it DART? Is that what they call the Dallas Metro train? That thing's going. I know a lot of people that got on there early and said, oh, it was great. And then that group that got stuck at the wrong time missed most of, if not the entire first half. So that's what TV is for. That's what airplanes are for, I guess. It's never good. You saw the story today about moving the game to Cowboy Stadium, Jerry Jones World. I can't believe it hasn't happened already. But I'll give the athletic director some credit for staying there just for the sake of tradition. I mean, you have to admit, there's something about the whole Cotton Bowl experience being kind of a nightmare. It stinks. There is no parking. They may have added one bathroom. The seats are too small. The carnies are high. There's a pretty good chance your car will be stolen. The beer is bad. But it's part of the allure. It just wouldn't be the same without the stench. But one day that game's going to be gone. I mean, both athletic directors today said they're locked in for 5 years. I think it's 5 more or 4 more years. I can't blame them after that for saying sorry, everybody. I mean, the taxpayers of Dallas were dumb enough to put up the money to keep the Cotton Bowl going. I mean, what else does it have? It doesn't even have the Cotton Bowl anymore. The Cotton Bowl doesn't host the Cotton Bowl. It is really one game. That's it. So the people of Dallas would like you to go ahead and buy, what's the most absurd thing on the menu there at the fair this year? Fried butter. Eat some fried butter and ride the tilt-a-whirl with Gibby. Curtis, you're on KLBJ.
This is Curtis.
This is Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
Curtis.
I just turned it on your program, but last week I think I noticed some things about Garrett Gilbert, and I want to get your opinion. It looks like he's not real sure of himself, and also he gets confused when he gets up to the line of what he's going to do. For instance, I don't think he can read defense very well. Now, I'm not downplaying him, but
yeah.
That's 2 areas that I've seen. The other areas, boy, if he runs with the ball, it's just scary because I don't want him to get hit because that'd be the end of.
No, I'm going to start with your second point. And, look, the Horns may have no choice but to go 5 wideouts and play, basically tell Garrett Gilbert, what you did at Lake Travis, could you take that playbook and do it again now? Just go back to the way they play. But I tell you one thing that is idiotic, and he's a better athlete, I think, than people realize. He can move around. He's not Colt McCoy. He's not Vince Young, but he can move around some. But if they have that guy running that option again, they are insane.
Jeff Ward on News Radio 590 KLBJ.
Film critic Gary Cogill on this next hour. Everybody keeps saying, what's it, Not Social Network? Is it Social Network? What's the Facebook movie? The Social Network. You think I would get that? Is pretty good. I didn't like Wall Street. I like Gold Class Cinemas and the fact that I had a blanket. But I don't know. I guess if you're like me and you really like the original so much, this one is kind of, I don't know, it's got too much eye candy. And I don't mean that in terms of the good-looking people. Michael Douglas is pretty good again as Gordon Gekko. It's all right. Josh Brolin is good as whoever he was. Charlie Sheen makes an appearance. Oliver Stone makes a few appearances. It was the Lehman Brothers story, is what it was. That's what that movie was. And I don't know how many people even understand that. So it's kind of surprising to me that it's all that marketable. Because you get in there, I bet you half the people in the theater I bet more than half. I bet you 90% of the theater people in the theater have no idea what's going on. About the financial meltdown, about the bailout, about the pitch to the Federal Reserve, and all that stuff that was going on that was probably historically accurate. I just don't think anybody understood it. That's why I think Oliver Stone felt like, man, I'm talking about derivatives here. I better throw in some weird graphics. Some sort of acid trip pictures of dollar bills. Some of us found it interesting because it was the story of Lehman Brothers on film. But it wasn't Wall Street, really. He gave the speech, but it's nothing. Well, I don't think anything, to me, I don't think you'll see a speech in movies that could rank up there with Gordon Gekko's shareholder speech from the original. Look, he's good again, no doubt. And this love affair is kind of cute, and love. I don't know. It's okay to see, but I think it's only okay to see if you're really into finance. I just can't believe somebody who doesn't follow that stuff would go, oh, that's interesting. Derivatives. Ah, yes, I see. Selling low, yes. Hey, Brian, you're on KLBJ. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Jeff. How you doing?
Do you care?
I do care.
I'm fine, thank you.
Well, listen, I wanted to tell you, here's a guy who moved from New Jersey in 1979 as part of a corporate move, and October comes around, and I'm looking forward to watching the Texas OU game, watching the news the night before, and we're spotting a little counter in the lower right-hand corner. And I said to my wife, I don't understand, what's that little counter for? This was on one KDFW or one of the TV stations there. She said, geez, I don't know. And so they come on at a commercial break, and they say, well, folks, we have 89 people that have been arrested so far tonight, and they're doing the count literally, and got up to about 145 people, and that was it for that night. And they said, well, we broke an all-time record, and moved on from there. So
let me tell you I'll tell you a funny story, and I don't think they do this anymore. But years ago, in fact, it probably went on for decades, and that is people would go to Commerce Street.
Right.
And at midnight or a little after midnight, the fire department in Dallas would take out hoses. And to get people to finally go, they would drive along and just spray the hoses. Just to get them out of the way.
Uh-huh.
And I remember my sophomore year in college, sitting in a hotel room, watching them come by the night before the game, watching them come down there as they pull down and start hosing people down.
Well, it was a riot. It was the funniest thing I ever saw. Like doing a little meter count on the number of arrests they could ring up in a given night.
You know what it is? I'll give you a good idea. It is spring break for adults. That's what Texas, Oklahoma is. It's if you can stay sane and sober until kickoff, you're into the game. Until then, it is spring break for adults.
Well, it was great, and I enjoyed living there for 10 years and watching it come as an annual rite. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I grew up going to that game, and although I'm not going to blame them when they finally move away from the Cotton Bowl.
No, that place is pretty sad at this point.
I don't. Does it do anything else during the rest of the year?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it's just strictly the Texas OU game and maybe some high school games that they play there. But even that I don't think they do.
Yeah, I mean, it's not worth the expense. And, I mean, you've got right down the road, Jerry World's going to hold over 100,000. And more importantly, it's going to hold the skyboxes that the rich people want. I think the Cotton Bowl is just on borrowed time.
Well, yeah, the incidental income, they just can't keep up with it. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, I'm a traditionalist at this. I get it. I've been there a bunch of times, walked around there as a kid. When I was 8 years old, I walked down that tunnel behind my dad when he was refereeing the game. I'd go to all those games and stand on the sidelines. So I get it, man. There's nothing like it. Somebody sauntered into the studio in the darkness, and Thomas, who's now fired because he opened the door, let this person in, and it's out of the blue, guys hanging out in here. And what are you doing here? Oh, man, I just thought I'd come and hang out in the studio. Had to get out of Dallas. Oh, okay. Welcome to our dark studio. Young Gary Cogill sauntered in to the studio.
How fun is that? I like it. I like being here.
Isn't it exciting?
It is. And radio's so glamorous.
Yeah, that's right. Look at it in here.
It's actually cleaner than it was the last time I was here.
Yeah. I don't really have a whole lot of stuff, as you can tell. I mean, I think the public probably thinks there's a lot going on.
Oh, stacks and stacks of papers and research.
Yeah. There's really nothing going on. It's all on the top of my head.
I carry around Roger Ebert's guide. No, I don't.
Yeah, did you hear? I went to see Wall Street at Gold Class.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was cool.
The cinema. But
I didn't like the movie.
No, the movie. I was going to say, that theater is so much better than that
yeah.
movie. That theater is really great.
Oh.
And the whole idea that you don't have to really sit next to people other than one person you want to sit next to, and there's still a little distance.
But if you want to sit next to that person, it's good.
It's very good.
It's really good.
It's like it reminds me. Not that I've done it, but I've seen those first class international airline seats because they fully recline. They bring you a blanket.
And
pillows.
I'm sold. I just didn't like the movie.
No,
I thought it was okay. I guess
it's utterly average, and it's not the most overhyped, but it's one of those movies. And Michael Douglas isn't in it very much.
Yeah.
And the best part is that little speech he gives, and that's really.
If we weren't comparing it to the original, would I feel this way?
No.
See, I said earlier, I don't think most people who go to see it, I don't know if it's done very well. I don't think most people have any idea what the movie is about.
Well, no, it's slightly convoluted, and it really doesn't examine, where we've been the last 2 years financially.
All right, it's your chance to talk about movies. Jump in now.
An expert in that field, you'd say that.
The phone number is 836-0590. That's 836-0590. Toll free 877-590-KLBJ. He is the arts critic for WFAA Television in Dallas. Although there's an announcement at some point today. He is Gary Cogill, and I can't even remember the last time that you came into this dark, sad place.
I think it was 2-3 years ago.
Yeah,
because it's always on location when we're at the Alamo Draft House, which is one of my favorite days of my life.
Yes.
Just drunk randomness and movies and weird,
inappropriate
clips.
Exactly. Very inappropriate.
Great questions.
I don't know what happens more, inappropriate clips or drunkenness.
Yeah, and we have the bird's eye view because we're up front just looking out over the, it's like, 3D television.
Then you get stuck in this little room and...
Yeah, this is not bad, though. This is pretty good.
Yeah.
Although there's absolutely nothing on the walls here.
No, and it's dark.
There's not like posters of you, without your shirt.
Those are on the website, apparently. Yeah. Thomas in there, he just likes to just randomly just put semi-nude photos of me up online.
And you have mood lighting. This is kind of dark.
Well,
here.
It is very. If I had it my way, I usually turn off this light over here, and it's
would you
completely dark.
Do you light candles once in a while?
No,
Yeah.
I'd rather sit in the dark.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I'm sure there's some twisted reason.
When I was driving over here, you were talking about how people are surprised that you talk for a living, that you do a talk show, because outside of here, you don't talk that much.
Right.
That is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard you be a magpie a few times, but it's when you had something that you really wanted to talk about outside of here.
Yes.
And all of it personal.
Yeah.
But that's you. I'm
Isn't it
always
funny?
fascinated by that.
Well, this guy, he says, exactly what I'm doing right now, these pauses, because I'm that way in real life. I'm not a very, how do we say this? I'm not spontaneous. I don't just fly off I usually sit and think.
Well, you are spontaneous, but you think.
Okay.
And you choose your words rather than your words don't choose you. They don't fly out of your mouth and you want them all back all the time.
Yeah.
You think before you speak.
Yeah.
And sometimes that you have to think for a minute and pause.
Yeah.
I like that. Rather than nothing drives me crazier on the radio, especially on a television talk show where people fill the entire room with their voice.
Yeah.
Because the other person's not saying anything. It drives me crazy.
It's funny when I teach a class, I try to tell students, listen, learn to talk a lot less. People talk far too much.
Less
they babble. They babble aimlessly.
They do.
Just be strategic and stop. Put your A game out and stop talking. Silence isn't always bad.
Well, when you talk to really stupid people on interviews like Paris Hilton,
yeah,
my one interview.
Does she talk a lot?
Well, if you just let them go and give them the rope, they'll take that rope,
absolutely,
and they'll tie it all the way around themselves.
Yep.
If they're not thoughtful about their
okay,
process.
movies.
Okay, I thought Wall Street was utterly average, but there are 3 films opening today. This is the best week of the year so far for movies. Now, I thought Inception was great earlier this year and better than anything I saw last year. Social Network is just as good. It's completely different. It's a different kind of film. It's not a big visual feast. But Social Network is so well written by Aaron Sorkin, so well directed by David Fincher that it would rival and maybe it's the best film. I haven't seen all the good stuff in November and December, but boy, this film knocked me out. And about Zuckerberg and those guys, and go figure that Justin Timberlake is great in a movie. He plays the guy that created Napster, made all this money, and then he started consulting with Zuckerberg and started getting involved in his business.
Wow.
And he's this kind of arrogant young entrepreneur, and he's great. He's perfect for the part. Everything is written perfectly. It's a perfect movie to me. I can't wait to see it again. I love the music of it. I love that it's about culture right now. I mean, this stuff just happened. This lawsuit just happened. And all these guys at Harvard that sued him. And, a lot of the details I didn't really know. And then when you watch the movie.
Well, I read the book.
Well, the book was great, wasn't
yes,
it?
absolutely. The book was great. I had the guy who wrote the book on, and he's a really interesting guy. Now, he's the one who wrote the book about 21. And he admitted I sexed this up a little bit.
Right.
But the story itself, as you said, because we're living it now, it's pretty fascinating. The guy's a multi-billionaire to meet chicks.
His company's worth $7 billion, and he just gave $100 million to New Jersey schools.
Yeah.
And he's so interesting. And he in the movie, what's his name? I want to say Jesse Eisenberg, or I can't remember his name. The actor that plays him. I mean, he's such an unlikable person. The whole movie, you don't really like him, but you get it and understand it. And sometimes it takes brilliant antisocial people to pull off these things,
right?
To create something like that. The right people at the right time. As a business model, it's fascinating.
It's not, because this was my fear. I thought the book tried to get a little too sexy, tried to make it a little too cool, and
like,
it really.
What about drugs and sex?
Yeah,
and the movie's not like that.
Okay, good.
No, the movie's not like that.
Come on, I mean, I get some of that, and if you make enough money, you are going to have some hot babes running around, but not too much of that.
He's never really I mean, he dabbles in it a little bit in the movie, but it's more about lawsuits.
Okay,
it's more about. The challenge and
so the movie didn't overdo
intellectual property, whether you own it or not.
Yeah, the movie didn't overdo it.
No, not at all.
Wow,
not in the least. In fact, if anything, compared to the book, they held back. It's so smart, so good that I just want to take everyone to see it. And then this little movie called Waiting for Superman.
Hold that.
Want to pause that?
Yeah, because Thomas is. You see him in there? You see him, Gary? You see this is what happens to me?
Wait, now he's got posters of himself on the wall.
Yeah. Hi, this is Mick Jagger, and you're listening to KLBJ, where the news comes first.
Talking movies with Gary Cogill, and I haven't heard you brag that much about anything. So
okay, I love Social Network.
Right.
I thought Wall Street was utterly average. Now, run to the theater and see this documentary by Davis Guggenheim called "Waiting for Superman," and it's based on it's basically saying the public education system in America is broke, needs to be fixed. And most people would agree with that. Now, we're not talking about, it's not an absolute. We're not talking about every school and every district and every teacher. But basically, when you have tenure after 3 years, 2 to 3 years in the public system, it's hard to get rid of a bad teacher. And it examines how all that works. And it's a great history lesson on how public education works and how some charter schools are really doing a good job. So let's look at their model and look at public education, and maybe we can find some way to fix some things. And then it follows the lives of 5 kids. Because basically, if you're in, and it spends a lot of time with that woman, I forget her name, who's in Washington, D.C., who's taken all that fire and trying to change that stuff. And she's a reformer. And also Jeffrey Canada up in Harlem, who's got that system going. I'm fascinated by that and him. But it follows 5 kids and their families, and the emotional content of the movie is so compelling because these kids are just very poor, and they have a chance to get in a charter school, but there's 800 people and 40 slots, and they all get a number, and they put it in like a bingo machine, and they have a lottery.
Yeah.
And you get a chance to have a good education if your number comes up.
Yeah.
And there's 500 kids in an auditorium, and there's 40 numbers, and they're all of them don't get in, start crying, and that whole system of how that works. But that's the only system they've figured out because the charter schools are doing so well. There's all this flight from public schools, so it's how to fix the problem. And I love movies that do that. It's Michael Moore without being all hacked off and irritating all of us. Davis Guggenheim in real life did It Might Get Loud, that great rock and roll documentary. He also did An Inconvenient Truth. So a lot of people hold that against him because they think, oh, he's just some flaming liberal who wants to go out and be that flaming liberal guy. The movie is so smart and so interesting. And I loved It Might Get Loud. I think this film and It Might Get Loud are far better than An Inconvenient Truth, which he won the Oscar for. But the reason we like Davis Guggenheim, Jeff, is he's married to Elizabeth Shue.
Ooh. Well,
we like him.
There you go.
And he's a great guy.
Okay. Enough said.
I spent a lot of
no
time
matter what he makes, you have to like
with him lately talking about
Talk about her.
And then finally, go to if you want to be creeped out, go to the Alamo Drafthouse and see Let Me In. It's a remake of Let the Right One In 2 years ago that we talked about in 2008. That Swedish vampire movie that creeped me out, that I love, that a lot of people put in their best 10 list. Well, the guy that did Cloverfield, Matt Reeves, has reconfigured this into an American version of it. And it's not shot for shot, but it's pretty close, and it's just as creepy. And in some ways, it's a little bit better, and in some ways, it's not. But it's a B+ to an A, and it's the creepiest vampire movie. And it's about a 12-year-old female vampire, and she comes to this little town, and she meets a 12-year-old boy, and they become friends, and he's being bullied at school. And if you're going to bully that kid and she's a vampire, there's a pretty good chance those bullies aren't going to last very long.
Yeah.
And then there's this real, just kind of odd tone to the whole film. It'll chill you to the bone. It's creepy. It's violent. It's the best vampire movie since Let the Right One In.
Yeah.
And it's a remake of that one. So it's just nonstop. And then Secretariat opens next Friday. And it's like a Disney film. Oh, wait, it is a Disney film.
Yeah.
It's not Seabiscuit at all, but the horse is great, and the story of the horse is great. And I'd give the movie probably a B- or a C+.
You mean when you say the horse is great, like the sound and all that stuff is kind of cool? I mean, yeah.
I don't think it understands racing as well
Yeah.
as Seabiscuit did. That film understood racing, and this one isn't shot nearly as well. And it's written and directed by Randall Wallace, who wrote Braveheart, who's a descendant of William Wallace.
Okay.
How crazy is that? He
Okay.
did When We Were Soldiers. He wrote Pearl Harbor. And he's a big time. He's a great guy and a really interesting guy. But this isn't, I don't think, his best film. But I like Secretariat, and it's better than Wall Street. But it's a movie you can take your kids to see. It really is PG because it's about a woman. Diane Lane plays the woman who owns that horse and really gave up all kinds of things when her dad died to run those stables, and they found this horse, and it changed everything. Of course, that horse, when it won the Belmont by more than 33 and a half lengths, still to this day, that's the largest margin of victory in the Belmont, and it's the record time still. No horse has ever beaten that time. That horse won the Triple Crown. So the story's real interesting. It's not in the. I thought Seabiscuit was a really good film, and I think. An A-level film, and I think Secretariat's a B-level film.
Jan, you're on KLBJ.
Hi, I'm so glad to talk to you, Gary. I'll try not to babble on aimlessly, but
well, I do it all the time. Good to hear your voice.
Well, I've really been wanting to ask you about an independent feature-length film that I saw highlighted on the local news called Open When Johnny Can Read. And I started following the film on Facebook, and one of the things that kind of intrigued me was that the lead role is played by Andy McPhee, who's the father of Cody McPhee, who starred in The Road with Viggo Mortensen.
Well, and Cody McPhee is the boy in Let Me In, the vampire movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's him.
Well, his father is doing the lead role in Open When Johnny Can Read.
Now, I haven't seen When Johnny Can Read. Now, is it out there already?
It's supposed to be out this month on DVD.
Okay.
And you can watch a short trailer of it at johnnysletter.com.
Okay.
And they've kind of used an open source, so you could go in and actually watch the making of the movie.
Are you the publicist for this film? I'm just kidding.
No, I'm not.
I'm just teasing.
No,
So you haven't seen it either?
No, I've only seen, what's on their website and kind of been following it.
All right.
And it was it was on the local news in West Texas, and then they had a clip that it was also shown in Bryan College Station, just to kind of featured it because it has some local talent.
What's the best movie you've seen in theaters lately?
Oh, I don't go to the theater much.
We got to get you out more often. Go see Waiting for Superman. Tell me what you think.
Do Gold Class. I'm going to go see the Social Network.
Oh, Gold Social Network at Gold Class or Inception at Gold Class would just knock me
I'm
out.
bummed out that I did the whole Wall Street thing. I mean, I guess.
And it was packed out. It's probably sold out.
It was.
So made a ton
which
of
I
money.
still. How did it do so well? Just hyped like crazy because it's Michael Douglas and Oliver Stone?
It did so well because it had a good trailer, and the original is still in everyone's mind, and most of the people that went and saw it were older. Most of the people who went and saw it were not under 30, which is what Social Network's about. And that's really the driving force, but it attracted an older audience. I just think the original is so kind of iconic, and and you want it. It's the same director. It's Oliver Stone.
I mean, it may not be completely fair to Oliver Stone, but it just. What's his deal with these images? Like if the two of us were in the movie and we're having a discussion about whether the Federal Reserve should bail out this fictitious brokerage house, which was really Lehman Brothers. And then while we're talking, all of a sudden you see this flash of currency being printed or something. I mean, what?
It's called intercutting, and he intercuts all kinds of images to highlight what you're talking about.
So is that because the people can't understand the conversation?
Well, I think it's distracting and takes away from the film.
Yeah.
Every time they talk about Facebook in the movie, they don't cut away to a Facebook.
Right.
So we know what it looks like.
Yeah.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit. Greed in all of its forms. Greed for life, for money, for love, knowledge, has marked the upward surge of mankind, and greed, you mark my words, will not only save Teldar paper, but that other malfunctioning corporation called the USA.
All right, film critic Eric Cogiel in studio with me. That's right, in studio for no apparent reason, just to probably get out of Dallas.
Get out of Dallas because everybody's going to Dallas.
Going to Dallas.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be back there soon, but yeah.
It's spring break for adults, but if you live there and you're not that interested, it's got to be a real pain in the butt.
Well, if you're going to all the, Sooner X's, Texas X's, parties and all that stuff, that's a blast. But no, I just want to come down and hang out with you. Say hello.
All right.
In person.
It is David. You're on KLBJ.
Hey, Jeff, I enjoy your program.
Thanks.
Hi, Dave.
I was wondering if you can recommend a scary/thriller movie that's not your typical teenagers going to the lake, getting killed by a chainsaw slasher guy.
Well, I know how rare they are. They're very, very rare. I thought the original, The Ring was a really good one. Now, after that, they got bad. But The Ring and that little girl crawling out of the well at the end is just creepy.
That was creepy.
Yeah, they're really rare though. I mean, you go all the way back to The Haunting with Julie Harris, which is a black and white film made by Robert Wise, who did West Side Story and The Sound of Music. And between those great musicals, he made a little black and white horror film called The Haunting. Now they remade it years later with Owen Wilson and Liam Neeson. It's a horrible film. But the original will creep you out. It'll creep you out. Wait Until Dark's an original creepy old film, but they don't make really. That's why I loved Let the Right One In, the Swedish vampire movie that's been remade into Let Me In, which opens today, and both are terrific, just terrific films.
Is that Swedish version available?
Oh, it's on DVD. It's a huge hit on DVD. Go get it. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Is it subtitled?
Yes, and you want it subtitled because there's not that much dialogue in it. It won't bother you because you do it every day watching ESPN anyway.
That's true.
Yeah, and don't worry about that because the English and Swedish do not even remotely match.
That's true.
Don't ruin films by getting English versions. Do
no,
the subtitles.
I prefer subtitles. I was just asking out of curiosity.
Yeah, let the right one in. Go get it. It's really
all right. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Stephen, you're on KLBJ.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hi, Stephen.
Curious if you've seen the movie Unthinkable. It was released this year only on DVD, did not go to theaters.
No.
And I understand why, because it's not a bad movie, it's because of the content and subject matter.
No. Is it a horror film, a slasher film, a crime film?
No, it's I guess a thriller.
Right.
It's Samuel L. Jackson.
Right.
And was it Kate Moss?
And I'm going to stop you there because I can tell you right now that 100% of the time, and I've been at WFA, I've been at the ABC affiliate in Dallas for 24 years as their film critic. 100% of the time, when a movie goes direct to DVD and does not play in theaters with a big star like that, there's a reason. There's a reason.
Oh yeah, absolutely for this one.
They just don't work. Now you can find some that work a little bit more than others, but they're always wrong. There's always something horribly wrong with them.
In this case, there are a few plot holes, but what movie doesn't have them? But basically, it's intense. I mean, it's
unthinkable.
Basically, Samuel L. Jackson is kind of this underground guy that the government brings in to basically torture a terrorist suspect who has planted 3 nuclear bombs in different cities.
Sounds dreadful.
It's tough.
I'm just playing with you. I
know, but it's tough.
And for every movie I see in a movie theater, and there are 400 at least a year that I see, 10 times that amount go direct to video. And the percentage of movies that even are good enough to even play in theaters, and a lot of those are awful, is far greater.
BJ, you're on KLBJ.
Hi, Gary. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well today. Good to hear your voice.
Good deal. Hey, listen, a couple weeks ago I went and saw The American, and I just loved it. I just ate it up. I loved it so much I went back and I took my wife to go see it, and she wasn't so hot on it.
Right, and you know why she wasn't hot on it? Listen, I think it's a really good film, but you have to be really careful who you take to see that George Clooney film because it's so European and it's so slow. And yet, the more I think about it, the better it gets. It is what it is. It's sometimes movies are what they are, not what you want them to be when you walk into the theater. And George Clooney and all the advertising was this thriller, and it's not. There's 5, 6, 7 minute segments in that movie with no dialogue and no music.
And I just loved it. To me, that's how all movies would be.
Well,
and so what I want to know is, can you recommend anything based on the experience of The American that maybe might be in a similar style?
Well, when I walked out of that, I kept looking back to old Merchant Ivory films, and those weren't thrillers. Those were just really slow, beautiful, wonderful films like Howard's Inn and Remains of the Day. Remains of the Day is a great example of a movie that moves so slow.
Right.
But it's a stunning, amazing film.
Yeah, what can I say? I'm a fan of the slow movies. So.
Yeah. They don't make them very often because the attention span in American movies, and when they do, they're mostly European. A very slow movie right now is that one called Never Let Me Go, which is the one with Keira Knightley.
Oh, right.
It's slower than the American, and it's very melancholy. It's got a little sci-fi twist to it, but it kind of bored me a little bit. But I admired it. I just didn't really like it that much. It's very.
All right, I'll check it out. Thanks, guys. Great show.
I watched the Clooney movie. What is it? Something about goats?
Men Who Stare at Goats.
That made me laugh.
It made me laugh, and I didn't like the film very much.
Oh, my gosh.
Because the concept is really wacky.
It is such an acid trip. I don't do drugs.
There's Burn After
trip.
Reading, wacky, funny, and Men Who Stare at Goats was a miserable failure. And yet, anytime somebody brings that up, I kind of giggle about
I laughed.
Just stuff falling over.
Yeah.
Staring at it and falling over.
I laughed.
I can't recommend it.
No.
I don't think it's any good. But there's a little.
Boy, but I would just challenge people to watch it, and then when it's done, to sort of check yourself. What just happened?
Well, watch it for that reason, and about 2 days later, when you're driving down the freeway and you break out laughing, that's usually why. Did they actually do that? Because those people, they were actually government agencies doing those things. That's all based on fact.
Who thought up that movie?
I don't know. It's based on a book, and it's based on a book on the research of wacky things that the military was doing. And
Wow.
Trying to develop ESP,
I just laughed. I mean, just the plot, the characters made me laugh.
If you can stare at it.
I can't. I'd love to be able to try to explain it to people, and I can't.
No, I can't. You stare at somebody long enough, they'll probably fall over.
Fall over.
Jeff Ward on News Radio 590 KLBJ.
I have one more week. This is it.
Say about 13 minutes.
Yeah. Well, for us.
Yeah.
Can we say that?
Sure. Why not?
This is our last show. This is the last show I'm doing. Yeah. That's another reason I came down, is just to say thank you, and we'll check in from time to time. But my life as a film critic with WFA in Dallas ends next Friday. I've been there 24 years. Resigned a few months ago, and I'm starting a company. Yes, I am. As he plays the violin. And basically, I'm starting a film company with some partners, and we're going to make movies the next 5 years. So we're going to find out how good we are. We're going to do it out of Dallas. We'll go wherever we need to go to make them, but we'll do some small projects and pull the trigger on some kind of medium to large projects in the next 24 months. But it's fun. It's called Lascaux Films, Lascaux, which is Lascaux Caves in France, or those original images in 6000 BC.
Was that your name or your partner's?
Partners. No, he likes that term.
Okay.
And I said, if you're throwing in the big bucks to start this company, and I'm throwing in my life, you can name it whatever you want.
Yeah, you bet.
Glad to. And so, but not going. So I'm going to cut down from probably 400 movies a year to probably 150. And once you're on those screening lists, it's pretty hard to get off. So I'll still get to go to the movies for free a lot, but I won't see as much. I'll keep up with all the November and December films this year, but we'll check in again. But I want to come down because I just love this show, and I love doing this show, and I love being on, not just on radio in Austin, but being on the radio with you, because you've been great to me over the years. We've been doing this for
a long time.
I don't know how many years, but 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
It's 8 years, Thomas says.
I think.
I don't even know how long I've been on the radio.
I thought around 8 years.
Yeah.
And you look younger, and you're leaner and meaner now than I've ever known you.
Well, there's a lot less stress.
But can you still kick a football?
No, and when people, how many times? Now, actually, I'm getting old enough now where nobody knows. But it never fails, probably once a week. Hey, man, you still kick footballs? And I'm polite about it. Well, no, thanks. And then I move on. But I think, just break that down for a second. That'd be like going to a bowling alley and having to walk down there and pick up the ball and set the pins back up all the time.
Right.
It's not much fun.
Once you kick it, you got to go get it.
You got to go get it. That's how you practice.
That's why you have teams to catch the ball.
Right. That's why they have nets
one.
up there. But when you're out on your own, man, you're out there all by yourself with a sack of footballs, hours and hours, and it's not much fun.
Do you ever go play tennis by yourself?
Right. So I'm never disrespectful because I know people mean well.
God, that's funny.
But it's no, not really.
But the hypothetical.
I'm younger. I'm getting younger. Is that what you said?
Well, well, you look younger. Well, you're in such good shape. I mean, I want to be you when I grow up. But hypothetically, at your age, we keep thinking, could he kick a 40-yard field goal if he practiced for a week? The answer would probably be yes.
Yes.
You could.
Yes. I'm certain of that.
Yeah.
I'm certain of that, but I have no desire to do that.
Right. But hypothetically, you could.
Yeah. If you said $100, do this right now, yes. I would not enjoy it. And I'd take your $100 only to take the $100.
Yeah. I could bowl a 200 game if I practiced for a week.
Wow, that's impressive.
I'd bowl a lot of 178s.
See, I can't bowl unless I've got a buzz. I've got if I go in there, I'm not a big drinker, but if I go in a bowling alley, I'm drinking.
That's a country song. I can't bowl unless I got a buzz.
I have to. If we went, I'd just sit over there in the corner. If something about a bowling alley makes me just pound beers.
I can't bowl unless I've got a buzz on. No, it's been
8
great.
years.
Yeah.
8 years.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
Here's the thing about, I don't have very many guests on because people are, this, people can't do it. They're just not very good. Gary comes on, and Thomas can attest to this. No joke, I can leave. And I have, because he's that good. I don't have to worry about anything. In fact, I do all I can just to get the heck out of the way.
Wow. I'm flattered by that. And we just happened on one day.
Yeah.
I don't know. All I remember is getting calls from your producer.
I was in Dallas because a radio station in Dallas several years ago, I think, tried to hire me or something. I was in Dallas for something, not just that. And I heard you and what I thought, most how am I going to say this? I think most AM radio stations I just don't find interesting.
Right.
I find them pretty bad.
I was probably on
boring.
Cliff.
It's
I was
so
probably on Cliff.
Yeah, you were on Cliff, and I thought the show, the guy you were on with was interesting. It wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't predictable.
It's Kevin McCarthy, probably.
Yeah, before
he blew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I heard you on. I thought, that's good. I don't even know what they're doing.
That's how I've never heard this story. That's how it happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I called a guy I knew from Dallas, and I said, I'm not a person that seeks out guests. I think by and large they're terrible, but I think I get that guy. I like it. That's pretty entertaining. It's not predictable. It's not screaming. It's not yelling. It's just he can do a show by himself, and that kind of is the litmus test. If you can get around people who can do a show by themselves, you're fine. It's the ones you have to hold their hand that's not fun. It's more work than just doing it by yourself.